What's going on, guys? So in today's video we're going to be hooking up the harness on the bike, swapping out any burnt parts that are going to stop the bike from running, and then we're going to try and put the battery in the bike and see if we can get power to the gauges and stuff like that. Anyway, let's get over to the bike. This is the wiring harness for the bike. You can see it's kind of burnt up a little bit. There's a lot melted. So obviously I don't want to run this wiring harness in the bike after putting all the work into it, because you never know what kind of issues you're going to run into down the road. So yeah, this is a really bad part of it. This is like totally melted. So this whole harness is going to have to be changed out. The main thing is I got all the wiring finally hooked up. So now that I know that I have everything to complete every connection, that nothing is missing and everything is absolutely there, now I'll start taking whatever I have replacement parts for, I'm going to replace right now. And no, I'm not going to bolt it all on or anything. I'm just going to kind of, as neatly as I can, kind of route things and connect things within all the newest parts that I have. The next step now, I'm going to put that harness in the bike and then hook up any of the new parts or swap over the new parts and change out all the burnt ones. Alright guys, so I noticed when I was changing the wiring that there are going to be a couple sensors and things like that that I'm going to need to change before we are able to hook up the wiring properly. So we're going to have to change this sensor here. We're also going to have to change this cooling fan behind the radiator, and then we need to come to the back of the bike and we're going to have to install this fuel pump. That way we can hook it up to the wiring and obviously start the bike once there's fuel in it. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to do is actually remove this radiator, and then we will take the fan from this radiator and install it on this one, because this one doesn't have burnt wiring, and it will be way easier just to swap over this fan rather than trying to repair all the burnt wiring on the one that's already in the bike. Alright guys, so I got the old radiator out of the bike and I got the one from the used bike, the parts bike, over here. So what we're going to do is, you can see how burnt up all of this really is. This is actually bare wiring. The fan blades are melted. You could see it right there. It's completely curled over. But this radiator is actually in better condition than this one. This one looks like it got in some kind of accident or got bent up somehow. So what we're going to do is just take this fan, put it on here, and then anything else that might be better on this one, we'll put on this one as well. So let's get into that. Alright, so I got the new fan changed over. So obviously this one's way better, spins absolutely perfect. The wiring is good to go, so we'll just be able to hook that right up. And we'll just reuse that sensor, even though there's some melted rubber on there or something. But this is just to get the bike running, so nothing needs to be perfect. Yeah, the new one spins a little bit better. Just a little bit better than that. Alright, so now we're going to put this in the bike, and then we'll continue on with everything else after. Alright guys, so now that we have the radiator in over here, now we're going to take this piece off and swap out this harness. That way this connector will be brand new, or at least you'll be able to plug this in, because I don't feel like trying to screw around with that. So it looks like this is going to be full of oil, so hopefully it doesn't make too big of a mess. So everything seems to look like in very good condition in here, honestly, so that's really good. So now we just got to figure out how to swap over the other one. I don't know if maybe I'll just take the other one right off the engine or just take the wiring alone. We'll figure that out in a second. Alright, so after having a better look at this, the wire actually comes down through all of this stuff, and I had to pull all of this out. So what I decided is I'm just going to take this whole assembly right here off the other engine, the parts engine, and it's got that piece already ready to go, and that harness is in good condition. So we'll take that one off the other engine and put that on the bike. Alright, so here's the parts engine, so we're going to take this one off and put it on the bike over there. Alright, so we got this one off. Now let's go put this one on the bike. Alright, now that the new stator's on, we'll move on to the fuel pump. Alright guys, so I already got the fuel pump installed. I completely forgot to record because I was just trying to screw around with it for a while. But I mounted it on this bracket, got it orientated right, so now it's ready to hook into the main harness. And I've also got the tube, this would be the fuel output tube from the fuel pump, and that's going right into the carbs now. Alright guys, so in the last video I showed you that this clutch assembly for like the headlights, signal lights, and putting on the choke and everything, it's completely burnt. Not going to be able to use this at all to start the bike, and that's what I was kind of worried about in the last video. But I didn't realize that I actually had another one from the parts bike. So we're going to put that on right now, and then we're going to try and hook up the clutch, get all that sorted. So now that the clutch controls are completely hooked up, now I gotta take these ignition coils off of this parts engine and we're gonna put it on the bike. Alright, now that I've got the ignition coils taken off the parts engine, we're gonna actually install them on this bike. So these ends here plug directly into the spark plugs, which are down into here. So now that the ignition coils are completely hooked up for the most part, the wiring anyway, it isn't mounted, but now we will take all of these connectors and hook them up to their right places, and then we'll be able to put in the battery and turn on some power. Alright guys, so I know it looks like a total mess with all the wiring, all crazy and everything, but all the connections are completely hooked up and we're ready to install the battery. And this is just a mock-up, we're just hooking everything up to see if I can get some power, and then I'll reroute all of this wiring, make it look a little bit nicer and safer before we actually start it up, or try to start it up. So I'm gonna go get a battery and we're gonna see if we can actually get the gauges to turn on. Alright, so I got the battery hooked in. It's only the negative right now, the positive is still off. So before we put the positive on, we just want to make sure that I already have the gear in neutral. The power is off, the ignition is off, so nothing should just go crazy and start up out of nowhere. All we want to do is make sure that the bike has got power and that the gauges can turn on. That's kind of the goal for what we want to do right now. So this is the first time the battery has been hooked up to this bike, probably in over 10 years. This battery has actually been sitting in the cold, so I might actually have to charge it, which sucks. Alright guys, so I got the battery hooked up, and we're actually going to turn on this key, and this would be the first time in 10 years since there's been any power to this bike. So we'll see what works and what doesn't, and then in the next video we're going to try and actually start the bike. So here we go. So I thought the gauges would turn on. So it says it's in neutral. It says oil pressure. So yeah, maybe the oil pressure sensor might be screwed. So we'll put it in run. Nothing's happening at all. So the electrical is working. The headlight is on. Yeah, so it actually switches between low beams, high beams. Let's just see if we can start it quick. No. Doesn't start. You can tell, you can hear the relay going back here, but the starter isn't engaging. But anyway, yeah, so this is the first time that this bike has had power in 10 years, so unfortunately it doesn't seem like it's going to start right off the bat. There's a couple things I'm going to have to look into, but it does turn on. The power does turn on. The ignition works. Alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know we didn't get the bike running, but that's going to be the goal for the next video. Like I said before, this is just a big work in progress. Still working on camera angles and stuff like that. Trying to get a good system for how I want to keep recording these videos. If you guys have any recommendations or feedback on how to record, or if there's something about the video you did like or didn't like, throw that down in the comments, and I'll try and incorporate that in the next video. Anyway, make sure to follow Maxim Motorcycles on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, whatever you want. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more of these videos. We're going to strip this whole bike down and turn it into a nice custom bike after we get it running. And like I said, I'm hoping to get it running in the next video. Thanks guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.